Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Josh and we've got another podcast style episode today with Josh Delane, who's a marketing agency owner from London. Very successful guy, very similar to me. His background was in finance and accounting. He used to work for KPMG, then his family business. Now he's gone on to start his own marketing agency. Now I hope this is going to be really valuable to you because it definitely is going to be to me. He's way further along the journey than me. He's managed to build his agency up to 20k a month, which is really, really impressive. So hopefully it's going to provide a lot of value. I'm really looking forward to getting in and chatting to him. So we're going to jump onto the laptop in a sec and get talking to him. But to start with, I'm going to link all these links in the description, so please do go check him out. That'd be massively appreciated. And also please do subscribe to the channel. You'll really help me out by doing this. All my links are also in the description, so if you want to drop me a message on Instagram or anything like that, if you think you would be a good guest for this sort of podcast, please do let me know. But we're going to jump over to the laptop now and get going. Right, we're all live. Firstly, thanks for coming on, Josh. I appreciate your time because you are a busy guy, I'm sure. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and sit with us. We had a brief chat last week and just like 10 minutes was really, really valuable to me. So I'm sure that anyone watching it's going to find a lot of value in it. So firstly, can you just give a bit of an overview? I guess if someone's not watched any of your content on TikTok or, a bit of an overview who you are and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Josh Delane. I run a digital marketing agency called Aptum, and we help small and medium-sized businesses scale their digital footprint online. And all of this knowledge was built on the back of building my family business, which is in the high-end kitchen space. So I've been working there with them for about 6 years now, and we've roughly quadrupled the size of the business since I started. And it's all on the back of our digital marketing growth engine that we built for that business that I then have taken and applied to other clients.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. As I say, me and you have very similar backgrounds in terms of we've both done accounting and all that sort of stuff. And it wasn't for either of us. And now we've gone off and done very similar, I guess, career paths going down that way. So if we just go a little bit further back into just get a bit of context into who you are and what your upbringing, all that side of things, sort of your schooling, uni, first sort of jobs, all that sort of stuff. So we can just get a bit of context into who you are, from your previous experiences.
Origin story. Okay, so went to school in a small town called St Albans. It was an all-boys school and finished there at about 18. Went to Nottingham University studying industrial economics. I always liked economics and the mechanics of more on the macro side, how it all worked. I found it quite fascinating. So studied industrial economics, which was more applied to small businesses and small microeconomics rather than macro. Finished up my degree, got a first class degree there, and then was kicking around thinking, what am I going to do next? I applied for all of the big banks. I did internships with brokerage houses in the city. And I decided that because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, I was going to apply to the accounting firms, the big four, on the basis that it was quite broad. The training was very, it wasn't that specific. And most people told me that if you have a background in accounting, you can sort of write your own ticket in life. So I started at KPMG and probably day 3 or 4, I thought this is definitely not for me. But I was in there, I was committed, I didn't know what else I was going to do. And I've always been pretty good at taking exams. So I thought, that side of it will be easy. I'll smash out the exams, I'll get my qualification and I'll leave. So I was in the audit department. It was very boring work. There was a lot of just, as you know, probably just ticking off spreadsheets. This number says that. Now let's check the bank statement. It was very mind-numbing work. And it wasn't my sort of fast-paced, fun, atmosphere that I wanted from work. So then I got my results, gave him my notice, and I said, sorry guys, I'm out, it's not for me. And then sort of trying to figure out what to do next. And my parents said, have you ever thought about joining our business? And to be honest, I'd never thought about joining the family business. I'd watched my parents pour 30 years of blood, sweat and tears into their business. And it was a lovely lifestyle business, don't get me wrong, but there wasn't really enough for it to make it a sensible option for me. Plus, I am the least practically minded person ever. It's a furniture business. I don't know how to fucking assemble a carcass. I don't know one end of a hammer from another. So I was thinking that's definitely not for me. But somewhere along this journey, I thought, let's look at this more like a business and less like they make kitchens. And it was a great business. It had a lovely product. It had great reviews in market. They had built that business purely through word of mouth and recommendation. And I saw that there was a lot of low hanging fruit. They had never advertised. They never had a retail presence. They never really pushed the envelope because it was just, they had no time. They were just running around as owner operators. They never had time to focus on growing the business. They just, whatever came in, they dealt with. And so I started there about 6 years ago and was like, okay, right, we've got to grow the business. And I'm an accountant at this stage. I've got to grow the business. How do you grow a business? Well, you need to figure out how to get more customers. How do you get more customers? You need to figure out marketing. Okay, right. Well, I've got an ACA qualification that's going to help me about this much. What else am I going to do? So I basically started figuring out digital marketing and taught myself and watched hundreds of hours of YouTube videos and read books and spoke to experts and just did all of the stuff that if you've got time on your side, you can and should do. And basically spent the last 6 or 7 years building that knowledge base and, have grown the business massively from when I started. We've gone from 20 to 60 staff, a 5,000 square foot production facility to 15,000 square foot, 0 showrooms to 3 showrooms, really, really scaled that business. And about 2 years ago when COVID started, a lot of people had seen what I'd been doing on the marketing side for this business. And they said, can I get some advice? And at first, of course, I obliged and I gave them the advice. And then probably a month into COVID, I was thinking, God knows what's going to happen with this. World's going upside down. I need to sort of try and get some money outside of this business. And so I thought I'd start charging people for advice. And they were more than willing to pay. And that's really where the digital agency started. It was purely organic. Just thought one day I should be charging for this. And that's where the agency started. So I've been doing that for about 2 years, 3 years now, and have a handful of clients that pay a nice retainer, have a really solid team, and I really enjoy it. So I have an agency and I work basically as a CMO in my family business, which keeps me really sharp, ears to the ground. I'm a practitioner. I actually do the stuff that I'm telling my clients to do. And so, that's where we are now.
Yeah, that sounds really impressive. Very similar to me, the accounting, I was in audit as well. It's not the most enjoyable thing to do. And same sort of realization straight away, you're a couple of weeks in and I just thought this, at that stage, I was sort of desperate to, get something and, it's deemed in, to everyone else as quite a, I guess, successful job. But, even early on, I just knew it just wasn't for me. I stuck with it a couple of years, but it's just not.
I don't know if you found this, but whenever I was in audit, you'd be at a client site or on a client for like a week, maybe 2 weeks. And I was like, I've looked at 26 businesses, but you never really spent long enough on it to really understand what was going on and get your teeth into it. And so I always thought when I left, I wanted to be almost an expert in an industry or a field rather than just going to 27 clients a year and just not really knowing what was going on with any of them.
Exactly,
You're really only scratching the surface because you're only there for a short period of time. And if it's a bigger client, you're only working on like one small part of that account.
I mean, yeah, I felt the exact same, really. The only bits I really enjoyed was getting to meet sort of the owner-managed businesses and just discuss with them. And you meet some interesting people that you've never heard of before that have interesting stories. And that's the only bit I guess I really enjoyed. But it was very like bang, 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 do a job. And, that's just the way I guess they make money. But I didn't enjoy it, to be honest. And I've learned some very useful skills, and I'm sure you have now going on to, it gives you that knowledge on how to talk to clients, how to interact. And, I guess you just build up that professionalism, especially when you've come from uni or school. There's definitely key skills you learn from it. But
yeah, 100%. I do think it's a good grounding. Do I think that it's necessary to take 3 years to learn it? Probably not, but it is probably the best and easiest way of doing it. I know you can take an ACA qualification on your own back, but it's cost a fortune and you still need to have the practice part in order to be qualified. But some sort of base level of finance is essential in business, especially when you're starting and you can't afford to hire a financial director or someone to look over the books. Just day to day dealing with people, understanding how money flows and how it all works is really useful. Like for the agency, I haven't had to use an accountant. I just, set up my own books and started going. File my own accounts. I know exactly how it works. So it's, there's not a huge amount of invoicing flowing through it. So I can do it myself. Even that's going to save you a couple of hundred, if not £1,000 a year. So it is really useful to be able to take that into business.
And I found as well, when you sort of going to meet clients, definitely as well, you can link it back to the financial aspect. Even though my official background isn't marketing, when you're talking to clients, you can, obviously they want to, their main thing is that revenue impact. especially at the start. So you can sort of link it backwards and forwards. You know all your financial sort of terminology, and you can link it. It plays quite a key role, I guess, in
Yeah.
sort of pitching when you.
Well, also you can demonstrate that you have a commercial brain and you understand, the financial side, and not just saying I'm going to charge you X for a retainer and not really understand the back end of that and what the implications are for the business. But also, I talk a lot about the fact that in marketing there are two different types of people, types of personalities, and you can't hire one person to do everything because they are fundamentally different personality types. So on one side of the spectrum, you've got the analytical person who's very data driven, who will be your SEO, CRO, media buying type person. And having a background in accountancy is also a really, really good grounding because you understand how to interpret and analyze data. And then obviously on the other end of the spectrum, you've got your creatives who are going to be doing, the videography, the photography, the editing, the graphic design, etc. So they're two different personality types. And I do believe that having a background in accountancy is actually a really good grounding to go into the analytics side of marketing, which is where I am and is where you're from as well.
Definitely. So in terms of now your actual agency, we'll go a bit further back later, but just so people have a bit of an idea, what are your agency? What is it doing at the moment? How many staff? What is the rough numbers, if you don't mind sort of going into that?
So we have 5 clients paying $4,000 a month retainer. So we're at 20 grand a month revenue. I have 2 full-time creatives, so photographers and videographers, and I have a partner who is my CRO and SEO guy, and then I do all of the media buying. So we've got quite a good split of everything in terms of all of the bases covered, and I do all the account management as well. So I actually speak to the clients on a daily basis, arrange the photo shoots, arrange what's going on, general strategy, the analysis of the account and what's going on. But broadly, that is how we're set up. I think next hire will probably be an account manager so that I'm a bit more out of the day-to-day of what's going on and I can much more look at it from a high-level point of view, because that's the most time-consuming part is speaking to clients every day. This is, approving posts. This is the calendar for the next 2 weeks of content that we're scheduling. You happy with this? There's a lot of back and forth, and I've always been of the opinion that the less time that you actually spend in the business, the more time you can spend on the business and growing it. So that's really where I want to be going to next.
That's definitely right. Yeah, you're at that critical stage now where you can grow, but you do need to take yourself out of that day-to-day communication, which is I guess eating up a lot of your time. But we'll come back to this later down the podcast. But it's very pivotal for me because, as I said to you on the phone the other day, I'm sort of on that 5 clients mark now, but they're all a lot smaller than that. So I think I need to just work on winning that, putting that time and effort into winning that 1 or 2 clients that are going to bring in a little bit more per month.
Yeah.
So I'm not spreading myself too thin. But I'd be interested to hear some of your thoughts on that a bit later down. But growing up, did you want to? What was your goal? Are you very entrepreneurial? Did you have that sort of? Did you always want your own business, or was it just a bit?
I think that I think it's probably hardwired in me on the basis that both of my parents, have worked for themselves their whole life, and then my grandfather before that, my grandparents before that. It has sort of been deeply ingrained in me, but I probably wasn't aware of it until probably 23, 24. I have had a string of business failures in the past. When I was younger, there was one time where me and a friend found like a job lot of Nokia phones on eBay for like 250 quid for 20 phones. We thought, oh my God, these are selling for like 200 quid a piece. We could be making thousands here. And basically just got completely ripped off and the guy absconded with the money. There was another time where I tried to set up a DVD business where I was basically importing these fake DVDs from China, but they came in like sleeves with basically a paper cover and the DVD inside. So we bought cases, put the sleeves in the cases and the DVD, made it look a bit nicer and sold it up for markup. That didn't last too long. So I have had like a string of entrepreneurial ventures that never really did well, but I've got, always fingers in pies looking at various different businesses. I've tried FBA. I've tried, obviously we've got the marketing agency. I've tried, reselling stuff. Always interested and, very enthusiastic about things and seeing how they could work and trying them and then seeing if they work out. But the biggest pivotal point for me was reading Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek. That really, I think, changed my opinion and my mindset on business, on career, on goals. And I think that sort of changed my trajectory from wanting to work for someone else to wanting to work for myself and have that freedom.
But that book is great. I've read that myself. It's more about working smart than working hard, I guess. In that book, there's definitely, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want to work 4 hours a week. I think you need to work more than that. But the principles of the book are great there.
Yeah, agreed.
So in terms of the schooling system, uni, obviously I didn't go to uni, but you did. Do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's a good thing that people should be doing? Or I feel the schooling system misses that, push to try and drive people to be entrepreneurs.
I feel like we could have a whole 3-hour podcast about the education system, which is a whole nother can of worms. But do I think uni's worth it? I think that if you are going into a field that is a very academic field that sort of requires it, then yes. I mean, even accounting now, when I was at KPMG, they did a school leaver program where you could come out of school and you train there. It's a 6-year program. You basically get a uni degree and an ACA qualification. They pay for you to go to uni. They pay you while you're studying. And so you come out of it not with debt, but you come out of it with an income and a qualification and a uni degree. It sounds unbelievable. So again, if you want to be an accountant, why would you go to university? Law, I think, probably requires it. So yeah, doctor, definitely. But, we had this conversation on another podcast the other day, marketing degree. No, I personally don't think it's worth it. I think that you could learn a lot of this stuff yourself by trying it, by trying to set up your own business, trying to market it and show that you are, adaptable and you're entrepreneurial and all of those things. That is far more important to a business owner than I've got a 4-year degree.
Exactly. In a pitch, no one cares that you've got a degree. It's more that what have you physically done for previous clients. That I've got some friends, still at uni and all that sort of stuff. One of them was doing a business degree. I was speaking to them the other day, and the whole day was on how to write a CV. I was just thinking, that's crazy when you're studying a business degree on how to start a business, and they're spending whole days teaching you how to become an employee. It just doesn't seem to me.
Agreed. I mean, but also the whole education system is skewed and biased towards people that have a good memory, which is just rubbish because you've got a phone on you and you can look up anything that you want. I did well at university and school because I have a good memory. I got 3 A's and a first-class degree, but that's only because I've got a good memory and I can memorise facts and figures and be able to write it down in an exam. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily intelligent at all. And so from that point of view, I think it's fundamentally flawed. I also think, to be a business owner and to be successful in business, you also have to have a high level of emotional intelligence, and your EQ has to be high because you need to understand people, understand how they tick, be able to read certain situations. It's very important in negotiation. My wife, for example, who is incredibly, incredibly emotionally intelligent, will come out of a situation, be able to read it like that, know exactly what a person's like on one conversation. She did terribly at school. She's dyslexic. She has ADHD, but she's incredibly emotionally intelligent. And so the school system basically told her that she wasn't clever because of that, which I don't agree with.
Definitely. So in terms of when you actually went into your family business, first off, how was it leaving that stable, 9-to-5 job? I guess there was probably less risk because you're going into your family business, but how was it sort of leaving that, I guess, traditionally successful job to go and actually pursue something a bit more, I guess, risky?
I really love the idea of the challenge, to be honest. I mean, I think part of the reason that I was so disenamored with the accountancy thing is that I was looking at the people that were at the top of the game within the accountancy practice. So at KPMG, I was looking at the partners and I was just thinking, I don't really want your life. Like, that doesn't really look appealing. As sad as that sounds, like it just didn't appeal to me. Whereas I look at people, in my parents' network and in my network that have had their own businesses, and I look at them and I think, that looks like what I want to do. I want to have the freedom. I want to be able to determine my own hours, be the determiner of my own success based on how good I am and how much hard work I put in. And ultimately, it's not about hours. It's about what you do in those hours. In big companies, there's this ridiculous fallacy that people fall into that you have to be the first one in and the last one out, and that's how you get ahead in these big companies. And it's just total rubbish because ultimately, at KPMG, I can tell you for a fact that people would just stay there, not doing anything. They didn't have any work to do. They were just sitting there because they didn't want to be seen to be leaving earlier than someone else. It's just complete rubbish. I would never want to run a business like that. Run a business based on the fact that you have this to do in a day, do it. And I never want someone to be sitting there in the office for the sake of sitting in there because of some stupid politics. It's rubbish.
So in terms of when you came into your family business, what were the pivotal changes that you made? So as you said, they were more, I guess, word of mouth business. They were quite an old traditional business, sort of built up a client base over years. So what did you do to change that? What were the pivotal steps that you took?
So the first thing we did was we started social accounts. So they never had Instagram, they never had Facebook, they never had, whatever, YouTube. So we started all the social accounts. And again, from a purely accountancy point of view, I was looking at the numbers and I was looking at the fact that we need to be pumping out content like all day, every day. And at the time, they were photographing one project a month. And it was with this professional photographer who charged stupid money. He charged like £1,000 a shoot. And he'd only do one room and he would only do stills, right? And I looked at that and go, that's ridiculous. I said, I could hire someone full time to shoot 8 projects a month with video, and it would still cost me much less money. So that was the first thing we do. We basically brought in the content production in-house, started the social channels, started pumping out content across all these social channels. And I mean, we were everywhere. House, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, really went omni-channel. And then putting in some sort of solid data play, which was the CRM database. They never had a CRM database. Everything was on an Excel spreadsheet. So we started to mature the CRM side of things so that we were getting people's data. Every lead that came in, we were getting their email address, getting their number, so that we could start to use that on the back end to create email marketing campaigns and all that sort of stuff, and really leverage the data that we already had in the business. Back in the day, this was when we were paying, £50 a lead on Facebook and £70 a lead on Google Ads, for example. We plugged in all of that CRM data into Facebook to make lookalike audiences and warm audiences to create from that. So really basically just using everything that I had at the time and apply that to a digital marketing footprint for the business. And that was it. And we basically just slowly started growing from there. But it was heavy on the paid side to begin with, building the brand and the organic piece in the background. And now it's much more heavy on the brand piece because we have the leads coming in naturally that we don't have to pay for necessarily. We can focus more on the brand building side. But that's still the advice that I give businesses today. It's like, look, if you want to increase your lead flow or your customer base now, you need to do a mix of pure paid performance media, which is sort of your pure arbitrage. You put in X pounds, you get Y out. And then on the other side of that, start dabbling and investing time in your organic side. So posting organically on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, YouTube, whatever it is, and start to build that up so that one day you don't have a heavy reliance on the paid side and you can more rely on your evergreen content, your SEO strategy, whatever it is that is not going to pay dividends straight away.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds amazing. You told me on the phone, I can't remember the exact numbers, but what sort of numbers did you grow that up to? You said, was it like 500,000 on TikTok?
So we're 148,000 followers on Instagram and 495,000 on TikTok. And we've got about 1,100 YouTube subs at the moment. But YouTube is a much newer foray for us. We're just starting out on that front. But again, being a practitioner, being able to actually do these things myself, I can then give the advice to other people. For example, YouTube Shorts is absolutely killing it at the moment. We're literally repurposing the same content. We're producing it for TikTok and Instagram Reels anyway. All we're doing now is we're taking that content, we're posting it on YouTube Shorts. We're gaining like an extra 20 YouTube subs a day by doing that.
That is amazing. It's the monetization is coming on YouTube Shorts in the new year, so I think there probably will be a little bit of a switch. There's going to be more creators going on that because the monetization on TikTok, unless you're huge, is pretty rubbish.
Oh, it's ridiculous. With 495,000 followers, I think we've made 600 quid. I mean, it's absolute rubbish. We've got videos that have got 25 million views. We've got 8 million likes, and we've made 650 quid. It's not exactly. I'm not exactly laughing to the bank. But there are two things for me that make YouTube a really, really smart play. Number one is there's a lot of talks at the moment that TikTok is going to be banned in the US. And if that is the case, all of those creators are going to have to go somewhere. And the most likely platform that they're going to go is YouTube Shorts because they already hate Instagram. And the second part is the SEO play. So obviously YouTube has the second biggest search engine in the world. It's owned by Google. So search results from Google will filter through onto YouTube, and you can now, with your YouTube Shorts, upload a description that has basically SEO rich data that I'm making a video about content marketing strategy. that video gets a ton of traction, that will sit there in the search bar. You'll be getting visibility for years and years and years, and it will count as evergreen content. So I think that YouTube Shorts is a massive, massive platform over the coming years, for sure.
As well, and I think with YouTube you get that long format as well, so you're getting that you can actually connect with someone rather than just a 30-second clip where you scroll on, whereas you're building that relationship, which is going to bring, I guess you're building that more loyal audience over time. So in terms of how did you actually, obviously you've talked about doing the paid ads and all that side of things, but how did you actually get some of them accounts to, I guess, them large numbers? Because I can imagine a furniture business, it's quite hard to stay creative and stay, to actually grow on platforms like TikTok where it's such a fast-paced environment.
Yeah.
What were some of the creatives you were using?
So the first thing I would say is that you need to hire digitally native people. So rather than hiring a photographer who's 50 years old, not to be, ageist or anything, but the young people who are natively TikTok enabled and they love using it, those are the people you want to hire, because they are going to know what's going to do well and what's not going to do well. The biggest mistake I see people making is that they're posting content that works really, really well on Instagram and they're posting it on TikTok. But TikTok's algorithm favors a completely different thing to what works on Instagram. Instagram is very polished and, high production value, and TikTok doesn't care about any of that. It's like, is it good? Is it engaging content? Cool. It's going to go out to a lot of people. And so we made the decision early on to hire young, digitally native, TikTok native people. So my creative team, the average age is like 23, 24, right? They know what this platform is. They've got their own TikTok accounts that are really, really good. And then the second thing is, to go back to your point about how do you keep things fresh, we basically came up with a framework that worked really, really well, which is that we're photographing all of these kitchens anyway. Let's come up with a framework that means that we can smash out 5, 6, 7 short form videos per kitchen, which means that we can do up to 14, 15 reels or short form videos per week if we're photographing 2 kitchens. And so every time we go to a kitchen, we're like, right, let's apply the framework. We can do a visual drop where we basically do the CGI and we drop it and you can see the real thing. We do these are 5 cool features in this kitchen. Have you ever seen a color like this before? This is, the worktop special. And basically we just came up with a framework that works, that because we are producing different kitchens all the time, the content's fresh. It doesn't really matter. The framework is the same. The types of videos we do are the same, but because the kitchens are always new, there's always more content to put out there. If you were in a service-based business, it is probably a bit harder. I would say that if you're going to struggle to come up with content ideas, just pay someone to do it for you. It's what I do. I hire a freelancer who's much more creatively clever with coming up with ideas than I am. And let's just use that arbitrage. So rather than spending 2 hours of my time coming up with 20 ideas, I'll pay her whatever it is, 25 quid, and she'll come up with 25 ideas for me.
That sounds perfect, yeah. And then in terms of what was your first client when you're taking that pivot, you've built up your obviously your family's business now. And when you're looking at, the start of COVID, you're looking at pivoting to more of a marketing agency yourself. What was your first client, I guess, is your family business. But after that, who did you contact and sort of what were your offer at this point?
I think that you've got to just really, as a broad bit of advice, keep your ears to the ground, always be open and just be able to sense an opportunity. So, I had a family friend who I hadn't seen since school days. I heard that he was running this business, but he was struggling to grow it. And I knew that he knew what I was doing with the family business. So I literally called him out of the blue and said, I hear you're having a bit of trouble on the, growing the business. That this is what I've done for my family business. Is it worth us having a chat? So I went to him, basically pitched him that I was going to do all of his paid ads on Facebook. And this was it was an online revision subscription tool that was like £5 a month, but they were doing massive volume and they just needed to basically get around Facebook as a platform. They never really figured it out. So I was just doing the paid ads for that. That's how it started. Then I took on a few more paid ads clients, which was great. The money was good. But about a year and a half ago, when iOS 14.5 came out, all of a sudden the paid ad just went and it went to zero. Basically, it was impossible. Attribution was very, very difficult. ROAS was dropping off a cliff, and so I had to figure out, both for my clients and for my family business, how we were going to get around that. And we pivoted to an omnichannel approach. So we are everywhere. We're always in people's faces, but it's a combination of paid and organic. I'm really heavy on the organic side, favouring short form video. And so now we push that to our clients. I took then my first client that I pitched them, again, a friend of mine that had a business that saw what we did, wanted to do something similar. I said, okay, this is the story. I pitched him the service before I even had the staff. He said yes. It was a big retainer. I then took that money, hired 2 in-house creatives on the basis that I knew that if we did a good job for them, we could get other clients. And it sort of just snowballed from there. So again, it's just about being open, agile, nimble, taking opportunity when it comes. Also, when you're just starting out, just work for free. I mean, you've got the time. If you want to prove yourself and you need some sort of track record and a portfolio, you don't know where to start by offering your work for free and showing people that it's an absolute no-brainer. Not necessarily for paid ads, because there is a chance that someone's going to lose money, but on all the other stuff, there's literally no risks to someone by giving you control over their Instagram account and saying, yeah, let's see what you can do, and work for free for a month and show them the difference and show them you're good at what you do and learn on the job and whatever. And then you have that one case study that you can go and shop to other people and charge them.
Definitely. I think what all business people seem to have in common is that law of attraction, just being open. You never know who you speak to, and you come across so many different people, and it's just about spotting the opportunity where a lot of people would just, miss that. So I was in the gym the other day, got chatting to a guy in the steam room, went for a meeting with him, and, that's something that's come of that, where it's like a lot of people would have just left it there and nothing would have, I guess, come of that.
Love that. So love doing business in a steam room. That's great.
Yeah, no, really, really random, but it's just having that sort of be tuned in all the time to potential opportunities.
Yeah,
so you're spot on there. And also that second point about just taking the risk in terms of, when I first got going, there's a lot of things I don't know, but it's just about doing it and you figure it out along the way. And as you did, you took that risk, you got the capital first before you actually started hiring staff and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think that there's a self-confidence element there that you've just got to back yourself to be able to learn on the job. We're not trying to send rockets to Mars here. We're not working for SpaceX. It's marketing. It's not the most complicated thing in the world. It does require hard work. It does require dedication to be able to figure it out. It does require a lot of hours. But if you can do that, I'm pretty sure you can figure it out.
Perfect. So in terms of, if I just pivot a little bit to talking, so I guess this is more personal advice for me, but I guess it'll help anyone else out there who's in the early stages of, I guess, starting an agency. So obviously I've won them initial clients, but, a lot smaller local businesses, a few online e-commerce stores, but it's just about scaling to them sort of levels that I guess you're at now, where you're winning the bigger monthly retainers, which is sort of what I'm looking to do. What would your advice be to me or anyone else in sort of a similar situation to scale?
I think you've got to reverse engineer it. So you've got to look for clients who have a high ticket offer or a high ticket product. Why is that? Because if you're going to be charging a high monthly retainer, you need to be able to show them the numbers and say, listen, all it's going to take for you is one sale or one client, and you've paid for my entire year of services. Right, so I've got a company that does some financing stuff. Their average order value might be 100 grand, right? And if I charge them $3,000 a month, it's an absolute no-brainer if I bring them one client, and I absolutely back myself to be doing multiple clients, not just one, right? So you've got to look at high-ticket offers, high-ticket clients if you want to get those higher retainers, because the likelihood of you being able to charge someone selling £10 pens, on a Shopify store, $2,000 a month is remote, because they're going to have to shift a lot of volume to be able to make that worthwhile. Whereas high ticket is it's a much easier sale, especially when you can get your foot in the door, show that you've done it for other people, and then say, listen, I need to get you one client, and then you've paid for a whole year of services. That's a no-brainer, right? And if you do it for free for someone until you get them their first client, then all of a sudden that's a real no-brainer. What's someone got to lose by doing that? Nothing.
Yeah, that does sound good. I think probably I obviously, to start with, I wanted to build up a case study of, smaller clients and, get comfortable with it myself in terms of a new business, learn the processes, systems, all that sort of stuff. But I think now I'm on like a good base amount where that sort of covers my living expenses, all that sort of stuff from the ones I've got. But as I said, it is definitely now starting to, I guess, target them higher ticket items, which is, local businesses a lot of the time will not have that sort of budget, even if they've got a fairly decent budget, part of that might be taken up by, paid ads, all that sort of stuff. So it leaves you with quite a small amount. So in terms of what are your plans for the future? I heard in one of your TikToks you're looking at buying another business or something. What are your plans for the future going forward?
Yeah, I have as I alluded to earlier, I'm constantly trying to grow and got lots of fingers and lots of pies. I think that the next thing I have on my list is to buy a business, which I'm not really in a position to disclose yet, but I want to buy a business. I've got a strategy in the back of my mind that is a roll-up play. So I'd buy an existing business that's owner-operated, improve it tenfold, especially one that has bad marketing, run it through a marketing agency, improve that, and then basically start a group of companies in an acquisition roll-up. That's sort of a buy then build strategy that I'm really looking to get into in the next couple of months or next year or so. But really, I want to focus on growing the agency, more clients, and probably the biggest thing for me, and it's going to be the same for anyone running an agency, is finding your niche. And to be honest, I still haven't found that. I do a lot of work for a lot of different businesses, and it's very hard to then go to other businesses and say, hey, I'm a marketing agency, I help people. Well, that's very, very broad. I want to be able to say, we are Aptum, we help X business generate 10x more leads in a year, like whatever it is, but a very, very specific offer that I can then ship to a very specific niche. And I haven't actually worked out what that niche is yet. I'm doing, dabbling in a lot of different things. So really, I want to nail that so that I can have a solid offer. And then from there, all of your messaging becomes so much easier. Your cold outreach becomes so much easier. Your inbound is easier. Like everything becomes easier from that point because you are so sure about who it is you serve. So that's one thing that I'm definitely working on in the future.
Perfect. So you've got a few other things in the pipeline, for your future. And what else are you looking at doing? I've seen you. Obviously, you've been making content yourself personally in terms of the TikToks, that sort of stuff. So do you want to grow a social presence yourself, or are you
no? Listen, the reason I do that is purely top of funnel lead gen. I just want to be able to create brand awareness for the agency and hopefully get to a point where one of those videos hits and I can get some inbound leads. I'm not doing it because I want to be a social media personality or an influencer. Like, I literally don't care about that. It's purely, I look at it through a marketing lens, which is that I need more leads for the agency. How am I going to do that? Let's work on obviously the cold outreach side, but let's in the background work on getting some inbound as well. And by giving out those free tips to small and medium sized businesses, I'm hopefully putting some karma out into the universe so that some comes back to me. So I've got that side of things. So it's really the agency, growing the family business, a potential acquisition of another business. That's pretty much it for now. I don't want to take on too much.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to, because I'm very much focused on the business myself, but I do enjoy doing it. Like, I think by doing content, you get to have conversations. Like, I guess we're having a conversation. We don't know each other before this. And there's the opportunities that get opened up. And, there's people traveling the world and living these crazy lives that obviously there's a lot of hard work that goes in behind the scenes, but I think the doors are just open once you've got that sort of audience, to market to, and that loyal following. So I definitely think it's something to, build alongside.
Yeah, listen, it does. It obviously takes a huge amount of commitment and time that, I commend you for doing it now. And I hope that in 6 months' time, you're still going at it with the consistency and the cadence that you're putting out content. It's not for everyone. And a lot of people start putting out content, a video a day, a video every 3 days, and then they're not going to see any results and they'll just sack it off after a month. It's really hard to keep going month after month after month. Same thing for the family business, YouTube. We've been posting for a year and we're only on 1,000 subs. It don't get a huge amount of views. I know that it's going to pay dividends in the long run, right? I know exactly what's going to happen, but it takes a lot of confidence and self-belief and willing to be able to carry on smashing out a video every single week when you're not getting that sort of feedback.
It's but definitely hard.
Any of the big YouTubers, any of these big influencers, they'll show you graphs. It's like nothing. All of a sudden, whoa, it was exponential. So
definitely, yeah, it's way worth it. I think for me, it's just weighing up which. I know obviously TikTok's such a good platform for getting out there, and the views you can get on that is crazy. But I think YouTube is where I really enjoy watching the long format, and I guess it's just not spreading yourself too thin between picking a platform and really trying to push that. But I mean, nowadays with as you can cut up content, you can do both. You can cut up your YouTube content and do both fairly easily. So in terms of, you've obviously got quite a successful agency. What are you investing in outside? Do you have any other personal investments, or are you into stocks or?
No, I'm not really
too
into that. I believe that I'm going to get the most bang for my buck and the biggest return by putting it back into businesses, because it's what I know, it's what I understand, it's what I enjoy as well. So we'll seed, probably 2 businesses next year. We'll put some ideas out, take a month or 2 to get something off the ground and see if there's any traction, basically. If there is, then we'll double down on it. We'll put a bit more money into it. But I'd rather try and start another business or get another business off the ground rather than just putting money in the S&P 500 or whatever it is. I have passive, I've got this Plum app that rounds up my money that I spend every week and puts it into an ISA or whatever. I've got, very, very broad, but I'm not big into, passive investments or stock market or crypto or anything like that.
Yeah, I think really the putting your time and effort in something, you're going to wield that result a lot quicker than, sitting on that money like some people advise for years and years. And,
exactly.
Even if you get, I don't know, 20%, I mean, you could get way more from that, from actually putting it into a business and spending the time, over the years. But so in terms of your personal life, I think I might have heard you mention this. I don't know if I'm right, but the one thing that I struggle to do is switch off. Like, at night when you're seeing your girlfriend, like it's so hard to not just be on WhatsApp, messaging clients or, doing something, if I've got any videos to do, or do you find that as well? Is that a big struggle for you, or?
Yeah, massive. I really struggle to switch off and to be present, especially like on the weekends. I can't help it. It's just the way my brain works. I'm always thinking about new ideas or things are just going off. Oh, that would work. Maybe that. I see something and I think, oh, maybe we could try that, or hear something in a podcast or whatever. It's very, very hard for me to switch off. I am lucky in that I have a wife and 2 kids. I've got a beautiful family, and they, hanging out with them and spending time with them, there's a lot going on. So there's less time for me to be thinking about other things. But I do have to consciously decide to be present in the moment. It's not something that comes easily to me. So I do try and check work at the door, when I come back from the office, or if I'm working at home, I try and call it a day at 5:30, 6. I'll spend time with my family. I'll do bath time with the kids, and we'll get them down, and then I'll have dinner with my wife, and we'll sit and we'll spend some time together, unwind, watch some TV. But I do try and check work at the door. But when you've got a phone and it's just so easy for you to check stuff, I might be on the sofa watching TV, and I'll just completely subconsciously just open my emails just to see what's going on, and I'll see an email and it'll be, a rude email from a client, for example, and it's just ruin my evening. So I do try and not look at my phone in that regard. It's very, very difficult. I tend not to go on social media in the evenings. That's easier for me to do because I only really look at social media for work. But emails, it's the dopamine hit. I love just refreshing my emails and seeing if anything comes in. I just want to deal with it there and then, either delete it or file it or forward it or whatever I have to do. And so, yeah, it's like an active thing. I try and charge my phone somewhere else where I'm not sitting, so I'm not tempted to look at it. But yeah, it's something that I'm working on for sure.
It's definitely hard when that message pings up or something on your phone, and then you straight away want to reply and get on with it. But even clients, they don't expect you to be, replying straight away. They more than don't, but it's just like in habit because it's your business, and you've not got that 9 to 5 mentality where you don't really care because, it's not your business. Whereas when it's your business, you do really care.
100%. 100%.
You want to provide that. So in terms of marketing, have you got any favorite, marketing stories in terms of from you, your personal journey, or have you heard of any that you think are pretty amazing?
I had a very, very good story the other day that's genius. Not me. I haven't had this level of success. Maybe one day. Reese Witherspoon, her production company is valued at $900 million, right? So she's nearly a billionaire. And the most genius business model ever. So Reese Witherspoon has a book club, and the book club has 2.5 million members. So she's got a mad audience with incredible distribution. So what she does is she goes to the publishers of books and she says, listen, if you give me these books, I'll take these books and I'll push them to my book club. But in return, I want first right of refusal on the movie and TV rights to this IP. So the publishers are like, this is an absolute no-brainer. We can get 2.5 million buyers of the book like that in one hit. So they want to do it. They agree. So they give her the books and the rights, the first right of refusal. So she then has this audience of 2.5 million people strong that she will then get very quick feedback as to whether the story is going to be, or the IP is going to be a success. Once she knows it's going to be a success, she says, hey, I want to buy the IP rights to this. They say yes. She goes to Disney, Hulu, Netflix, whoever it is. She then says, all right, I've got this idea for a show. I'm going to sell it to you for 100 million. She gets the money from them, and then she goes and produces that show. And that's why Reese Witherspoon has like 5 of the biggest TV shows on TV at the moment. She's had back-to-back ridiculous success. Big Little Lies, The Morning Show, Little Fires Everywhere. There's loads of them. She's in everything now. It's because her production company have this ridiculous business model, and that's why they're valued at about 900 million now.
It's just such a clever idea because at every single angle, it's a win-win for her, really, isn't it? It's a win-win. The people she's obviously pitching to, the publishers and all that, they're thinking it's an easy win for them, but long term for her, she's just covered on every angle. One that I personally like. Sorry, I think you just called that.
Do you know what it is? The point is that it all comes back to she's got an audience. She's got a ridiculous audience, and therefore she has distribution, which is incredibly valuable.
Exactly, that's what I was going back to earlier. Like by creating content and building that audience, you just covered like any business you want to launch. You've got some level of an audience who are going to be invested in it. But one marketing story which I'm sure you're probably aware of. But have you heard of Richard Branson's the BA campaign that he did? In terms of when he was, I really like Richard Branson. I read his autobiography. I think he's a great businessman. And when he was getting Virgin, the Virgin airline up and running, his first competition was BA, British Airways. And they were in like a fierce rivalry. There was a lot of like dirty tactics that went back and forth, that sort of stuff. But British Airways had sponsored the London Eye when that was being built? They sponsored that to be built. And on the day it was meant to be actually propped, so it was laying flat, it was meant to be propped up, so it's the first day it was meant to open. So obviously all the world's media were there with cameras, waiting for it to be propped up. Richard Branson got news that it was actually, there was some structural issue or something and it didn't go ahead. And what he did was he owned a hover aircraft company, and he got them to fly over saying BA can't get it up. So obviously then all the world's media sort of turned to, and it was great for, very low cost stunt, but it got, because he owned the other company anyway, but it got them huge amounts of free marketing basically, which I just thought was really, he's done so many other things over the year, but that's a story that I really like. So I think that's it really. Justin, if we finish off with a couple of quick questions for you. Sure. So first up, how do you define success and what does it look like to you?
Being able to live life on my own terms. It's not necessarily tied to a financial figure. It's as long as I'm happy day to day in what I'm doing and who I'm working with, then I'm happy.
I think you very quickly realise when you've done a job that you don't like that realistically money does not matter. It's the day to day enjoying the freedom, it's like on what day we're on today, like a Tuesday, we're having this call, which, I'm really enjoying just chatting to someone else who's obviously more experienced than me. But it's like, what would I be doing 2 months ago? I'd have been sat on my computer in an office, hating life, really.
To be able to go back now, and play with my kids if I want to. I wouldn't be able to do that if I work for someone else. I can go and get a haircut. I can go to the gym. It's just that sort of freedom is invaluable to me.
Secondly, why do you work so hard? What is your sort of your end goal? What is the motivation there? Because you're obviously fairly successful. You could quite easily, I guess, stick at 20k a month and be very sound for the rest of your life. What is it that's driving you to take that one step further?
Very good question. I think that for me, I want to be able to provide a life for my wife and my children that is at least as good as the life that I had growing up. My parents provided me an incredible upbringing. I had all the opportunities afforded to me. So that is a bare minimum what I want to provide for my family. And I am an ambitious guy and I want to carry on pushing the envelope, but also I enjoy it. This is not like I'm not waking up every day dreading to go to work and trying to just get through the grind. I love what I do. I love business. I love entrepreneurship. It's literally my biggest hobby. When I'm not doing it, I'm reading books about it and listening to podcasts about it because genuinely that's what I would choose to do in my spare time. So I don't find it you're working so hard. I'm just life now.
I think that's when you hear of these people that have grown these huge companies, and then they sell them, and then they're depressed because of nothing to do. Then they've spent so many years every day focused on that goal, and then there's just nothing then.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
I'm much more. I'm not like single-minded. This is one goal for this one business. It's just like I love business. So if it's not this, it's going to be another business, or I'll just start something else and work with some cool people.
Exactly. That's why I think billionaires, like, they're never happy. Elon Musk, he's got all the money, but he has to try and think of something going to space, or
Yeah, it's this
they
creative
always try
outlet.
and think of a new goal. Um, Thirdly, who do you look up to? Who are your sort of biggest inspirations and people that you sort of aspire to? I guess not be, but aspire to sort of have that sort of like, I guess, leave that meaning on the world, if that makes sense.
I don't. I'm under no impressions that I think I'm going to leave some sort of lasting impression on the world at all. But in terms of people that I look up to, Alex Hormozy, who is a beast. He's like 32, worth about 100 million. He's had several businesses, and now he owns something called acquisitions.com, which is basically a holding company that invests in other companies. Really very smart guy, very articulate, absolute king of sales and marketing. Gary Vaynerchuk, obviously, a lot of parallels, helping grow the family business and then starting a marketing agency, very similar. He's just always right. He's like the oracle of the world, so always listening to what he's saying. And then in terms of from a pure business point of view, just Elon, who's an absolute powerhouse machine and runs 3 or 4 businesses at the same time. I love that. That's what I'm all about, and hopefully I can do the same. Not quite the same scale or level, but I love the idea of running multiple businesses and just getting stuck in.
I think it's about just having the management structures so that gives you the time to focus on the new businesses. As you go from one to the other, it's the people behind you that really, are pivotal. But then in terms of actually for people looking to get started in, business, entrepreneurship, marketing, all that side of things, what sort of podcasts or books or what sort of resources would you recommend people to go and check out?
Books. What did we discuss earlier? The 4-Hour Work Week.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like general stories, if you want to like read stories that are going to get you going, there's Shoe Dog, there's Alibaba, the house that Jack Ma built, there's the book about Elon Musk by Ashley Vance, there's the Everything Store, the book about Jeff Bezos. Those are like some big autobiographical stories that I loved. In terms of podcasts, my new favorite podcast is called My First Million, which is by Sam Parr and Sean Puri. Amazing podcast. They come up with business ideas. They break down different industries. They have a segment called Billy of the Week when they discuss a billionaire you've never heard of and his story. It's just an incredible podcast. This Week in Startups is a podcast. It's just sort of for me to keep an eye on the tech world and what's going on in there, that I really enjoy. And then The Game, which is Alex Hormozy's podcast as well. Some absolute nuggets on the sales and marketing front.
Definitely. I've listened to My First Million before. That's good. For me, my personal favorite, have you Diary of a CEO? I know it's quite mainstream now, but I'm sure you've probably come across it.
I do, yeah. I've listened to a few episodes. I don't love it. I mean, I like Stephen Bartlett. It's just, I prefer guests that are like business guests only. That's why I don't really listen to other stuff. So he's got a very varied cast list, but I listened to the one with Rory Sutherland, who wrote the book Alchemist. It was a really good episode. Anyone that he's interviewing, like CEOs or entrepreneurs, I'll 100% listen to those episodes. General people, like other people, I'm not that interested.
Sorry about that. My phone just started ringing because obviously it's linked to my MacBook. It's just come up on my MacBook and cut you off for a sec. But that I definitely. If you haven't checked it out, have you seen Jimmy Carter on Diary of a CEO? That's definitely life changing. I know naturally I was. I'm the same as you. I'm much rather the business side of podcasts.
Yeah.
But some of the sort of stuff and the knowledge and the way he articulates himself it's just great. I'd definitely check that out if you've not seen that.
He's a very, very intelligent guy, Stephen Bartlett, and he knows exactly what he's talking about. So I think that, it's definitely worth a listen for sure.
Definitely. And then final question, one final piece of advice for, I guess, aspiring entrepreneurs or, people just at the start of the journey, one thing that you think is pivotal that's sort of led to your success.
It's all doable. It's just a matter of putting in the hours. You can teach yourself a lot of stuff these days, and most things you can teach yourself. You just got to put in the effort and put in the work.
Definitely. I think that probably wraps it up nicely. I really appreciate you coming on. I will link all your TikToks, and I'll link your agency and everything down below. So, if anyone wants to check that out, that, you are making daily content on TikTok now, aren't you? So
Yeah, fine.
they can check out. No, I've seen it. It's good, and it's very helpful. It's more practical advice of what people could actually start to do. Which, it's not vague, it's very specific, which is really good. So I'll link all that below. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on. And I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed chatting to you, and I'm sure anyone that will listen will find it valuable. So I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate your time. Thanks, mate. Thank you for having me on.
No worries. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.